I'm here to talk about Precipitate Gold Corporation. Precipitate is, for those who don't know, a junior exploration company focused on exploration in the Dominican Republic. We're looking for gold. Some people here who know a little bit about the story will know that in our first phase of drilling on the project, we made a discovery. We've been unable to get back to that target with a follow-up round of drilling, but this past week, we announced the commencement of that Phase 2 program, so we're now back drilling that target, that follow-up target for a Phase 2. For those who don't know the history and the background of the company, I'll sort of let you know how, I'll go through the presentation and give you some information on how we got to where we are. So as I mentioned, we made a discovery in our first phase of drilling. This is now the Dominican Republic's newest gold discovery. We're located immediately adjacent to a resource, in fact, a pre-feasibility stage project owned by an operator called Gold Quest Mining, as some of you may know. They've got about 3 million ounces gold equivalent in a resource there, depending on how you cut off the grades. We're well financed. In the last 6 months, we've put together a $2.5 million financing in July. And we had $1.2 million come into the Treasury last Tuesday through the exercise of in-the-money warrants with one of our largest shareholders. So we're sitting on a healthy cash position. We have a drill program underway, as I mentioned, that we announced last week. And in tandem with that drill program, we're also testing multiple other new zones throughout the project area with ground IP and geophysics, looking for additional drill-worthy targets in the months ahead. Our team, we're made up of a number of people who have been involved in prior discoveries, people who have taken companies to a stage where they've been bought out by mid-tier and majors. And so as we move this project forward, that's the sort of the exit strategy that we would have in mind for shareholders. And you know, I'd welcome you to look at all the specific CVs and backgrounds of these people, but a really good, solid team, both on the technical and the business side. Our share structure, as I mentioned, we had warrants exercised last week, so that's increased our issued and outstanding up to 73 million, 91 million fully diluted. Our recent share price is about 20 cents a share, and that puts us at a market cap of about $15 million. As I mentioned, our working capital is about $3.5 million, and you can see there some of our largest shareholders. We have a sizable insider and founder position. And Strategic Metals, who's a publicly traded company, as some of you may know, who very technically savvy group, own 30% of the company's stock now. For those that don't know about exploration and mining in the Dominican Republic, I know there's not a lot of other companies out there doing that. This is a very well-endowed mineralogical district. There's a lot of mining history in the DR. One of the biggest gold and silver mines in the world is operating there. That's Barrick and Gold Corp with their Pueblo Viejo mine. You're looking at 20 million ounces of gold and 100 million ounces of silver. That project has about a 2.5% impact on the country's GDP. So this is a mining-friendly country, a mining-friendly jurisdiction where the mining laws are clear and the taxation is very simple and transparent. We're in a region on the western part of the country that's been relatively underexplored historically, largely because there's not a lot of obvious outcrop in that part of the country. And so this is an emerging belt or an emerging district where between Unigold and Gold Quest Mining, you've seen about 5 million ounces delineated just in the last 7 to 10 years. Yet we were able to go in there in 2012 on the back of those discoveries and pick up nearly 15,000 hectares of ground that didn't have so much as a grab sample on it, in the same geological terrain, the same kind of host rocks, but completely unexplored. So this is a quick look at where we're located with respect to our neighbors, Gold Quest Mining. So that's Gold Quest in purple and Precipitate in yellow. As you can see, we sit immediately up against their concession boundary for a strike length of nearly 40-50 kilometers. There's a lot of hunting ground here, and as I said, when we picked this up, it was completely virgin. We went in, to sort of fast track the story here, we went in and did basic prospecting, mapping, sampling, just looking for some showings, some areas of interest. We had a couple of geochem anomalies that came together. We got some grab samples up around 13 grams per ton in our Ginger Ridge zone, and that became our focal point. And we sort of rapidly moved that from grab samples, soil silts, to a geochem anomaly. We ran ground IP over that anomaly, and that's what assisted in our drill delineation in round one. So this is a look at the geochem anomaly. That's that sort of red blob that you're looking at there. And that's about 2 kilometers in strike. We ran 5 lines of ground IP over the central core of that anomaly, that surface anomaly, looking for the same kinds of signatures that had worked next door for GoldQuest and leading to their discovery. And for those that don't know, just a quick background, GoldQuest made an announcement in 2012 that really led to the sort of the initiation of this area taking off. They announced a drill hole of about 230 meters of 8 grams gold and a 1.5% copper. And their share price in 2012, in an otherwise pretty tough market, went from 6 cents to $2 virtually overnight. And so we were using a lot of the same science that had been successful for them in trying to fast track our processes. So this ground geophysics, this ground IP, was the main tool for GoldQuest. We weren't trying to reinvent the wheel. We were looking to use the same sorts of science. And so we did 5 simple lines over the core of the anomaly here. These larger red blocks indicate the higher chargeability in those grid lines, and that's what we were looking for some indications of sulfide material. And we saw that there was, in fact, a very nice coincidental chargeability anomaly situated right underneath the geochem. So this is a look at those geophysical lines on section, and you can see how we then went in and drilled it with the first 6 holes in phase 1 of the drilling. You know, holes 1, 2, 3, and 4, we really didn't get what we were looking for. We didn't have the benefit of assays back at the time, but we marched the drill rig up to the northern extent of the grid into that strongest chargeability, which is that purple color. That light purple is the strongest chargeability reading. And that's where we hit. And you can see here a close-up of the discovery hole on section. You know, we're into mineralization at just 25 meters depth. This is a very shallow target. There's 100 meters, give or take, of semi-massive and massive sulfide, which is that thicker black line there. And our highlight gold intercept, which we got 4.5 grams over 18 meters. And within that, there was a 5-gram interval of 13.5 grams. So we were getting grade. We were getting the right kind of sulfide content. And we now had an analog here in terms of geochem at surface, the geophysical signature subsurface, which is that sort of light purple that you're looking at on screen. And that was the analog that we wanted to go out and try to duplicate. The problem was that was drilled off of the northernmost line of our survey, so we didn't have any additional data to the north. And so we went in, we followed that up, did an additional 4 lines to the north, and the results of those came back looking like this. And what we were looking for is more of that chargeability signature that we saw in the discovery hole. Not only did we see that continuation, it's very linear, but also the chargeability becomes stronger and wider and broader, and in fact comes up nearer surface as we move to the north. So what this gives us is 800 meters to the north of the discovery hole, we have the same kind of anomaly. Because we didn't drill 200 meters to the south of that discovery hole there, off of what's indicated here as L12, we've now got a kilometer of the right stuff. We see the same geochem and geophysical signature continuing along strike here for over a kilometer. And this is a drill target that we'll be following up as we speak. So what we've outlined here is about a 10 to 12 hole drill program. We'll get a good number of pierce points into this target. Because of the shallow nature of the target here, we're going to be drilling 100 to 200 meter depth holes. We were only talking about 2,000 to maybe 2,500 meters, so this will be a very cost-effective program to be able to get a number of pierce points into this thing. And we're expecting results to come back through the balance of this quarter, perhaps as we get close to Christmas time, and the balance of those results to come out in January, all going well. In tandem with that drill program going on as we speak now, and it'll run through to January, during the downtimes of when the markets were tough and we didn't have a lot of access to capital, we didn't want to become a turn the lights off company and do nothing. We didn't want to raise a lot of money at cheap prices, and so waiting for the market to come back and allow us to raise money this summer, we did a lot of lower level work where we went out, we acquired some additional ground down in the southern portion of our property package, some adjacent ground there with a high amount of volcanic rock and the right geology. We did some airborne over that. We saw the right kind of magnetic signatures from an airborne survey. We went in and did some groundwork. We did some prospecting, the same kinds of work that led to the discovery at Ginger Ridge. And we're now at a point where we'll be mobilizing ground geophysics, that same geophysical tool that led to the anomaly identification at Ginger Ridge, is now being done over 5 new target areas, most of which are in the southern part of the property area, but including one to the north of Ginger Ridge called JT. So these 5 new zones are seeing ground IP as we speak. This program will run for a better part of about 2 months. although I'm hoping that we can announce the results of each of these zones from the geophysics as they are completed. And drill assay results, as I mentioned, will be coming either later this year or as we get into the new part of the next year. The benefit of where we are financially, on the back of this drill program, should we have some success in which to continue on, we have the financial wherewithal to do so. If the markets, as Jordan sort of pointed out, become a little bit more volatile and rough, again, when we come out this drill program, we can reassess where the markets are at, where we think we want to go, but have the financial wherewithal to weather the storm if this goes on for 3, 6, 8 months. But looking forward here, I think the next 3 to 6 months for us from a news flow perspective, and more importantly, a significant type of news flow perspective, this should be a fairly compelling next 3 to 6 months for Precipitate. So with that, I'll be outside, happy to answer any questions, and appreciate your time.